It is a ghost story, not of a haunted house, but of an open sky. It is a tale of a man who stepped out of a commercial airliner and into a legend. He left behind a few meager clues. He took with him $200,000 and one of America's most enduring mysteries. This is not the story you think you know. This is the story of the clues left behind, the decades-long hunt, and the hidden truths of the man they called D.B. Cooper. November 24th, 1971. The day before Thanksgiving, Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 sits on the tarmac in Portland, Oregon. The aircraft is a Boeing 727, a workhorse of the sky. Passengers board for a short flight to Seattle. Among them is a man in his mid-40s. He wears a dark business suit, a crisp white shirt, a narrow black tie. He carries a briefcase. He purchases his ticket under the name Dan Cooper. He is quiet, unremarkable. He could be anyone. The plane takes off. The seatbelt sign turns off. The man orders a bourbon and soda. He pays for his drink. Then, he calmly hands a note to a stewardess, Florence Schaffner. She assumes it's a lonely businessman's phone number. She slips it into her purse, unopened. The man leans closer. "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Florence retrieves the note. The words are neat, printed in all capital letters. The message is clear. It confirms the threat in his briefcase. Her training takes over. She asks to see the bomb. He opens the case just enough for her to see. She sees a mess of wires, red sticks, a large battery. The threat was real. His demands were precise. 4 parachutes. And $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills, all to be ready when they landed in Seattle. He was a strangely polite hijacker. He was calm. He was courteous. He even insisted on paying his drink tab. The crew in the cockpit relayed the demands to the ground. The FBI scrambled. Airline officials scrambled. They had to gather the money. They had to find the parachutes. The passengers on the plane knew nothing. To them, it was just a flight delay, a mechanical issue. On the ground, a frantic operation was underway. FBI agents photographed every single $20 bill, a record of the ransom, a trail they hoped would lead them to their man. The plane circled Puget Sound for 2 hours, burning fuel, buying time. Finally, the authorities on the ground gave the signal. The money and parachutes were ready. The 727 landed at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. It was parked in a remote, brightly lit area, away from the main terminals. The exchange was made. An airline employee brought the cash and parachutes aboard. Cooper, in turn, released all 36 passengers. He also released 2 of the stewardesses. He kept the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, and 1 stewardess. The plane was refueled. Cooper gave his new flight plan. Fly to Mexico City. Low altitude. Low speed. Landing gear down. The pilots protested. It was not possible to fly to Mexico City under those conditions. After a negotiation, a new destination was set. Reno, Nevada. At 7:40 p.m., the Boeing 727 took off again. It climbed into a dark, stormy night. 2 F-106 fighter jets scrambled from a nearby Air Force base. They shadowed the airliner. But they kept their distance. They never made visual contact in the thick clouds and rain. Inside the 727, Cooper told the remaining crew to go into the cockpit. He told them to stay there with the door closed. That was the last time anyone saw him. Around 8 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit. It indicated that the aft air stair, a staircase at the rear of the plane, had been opened. The pressure in the cabin changed. The tail of the aircraft bucked upwards slightly. He was gone. He had jumped into the freezing, wind-swept darkness, somewhere over the rugged wilderness of southwestern Washington. The legend of D.B. Cooper was born. The plane landed safely in Reno. It was surrounded by law enforcement. They stormed the empty aircraft. All they found were the echoes of a ghost. Cooper had left behind his black clip-on tie, a mother-of-pearl tie clip, and 8 Raleigh cigarette butts. This was the start of the hunt. An investigation codenamed NORJAK for Northwest Hijacking. It would become one of the longest and most expensive in FBI history. The first task was a massive ground search. The military was called in. Hundreds of soldiers scoured the dense forests. They searched on foot. They searched from helicopters. The terrain was brutal. The weather was unforgiving. They found nothing. No parachute, no briefcase, no body, no trace of the money. The few clues from the plane were sent to the FBI crime lab. The tie was the most promising piece of evidence. But this was 1971. Forensic science was in its infancy. They lifted fingerprints from the cabin. None could be definitively matched to Cooper. The cigarette butts offered little. The brand was common. The tie was examined under a microscope. Decades later, new analysis would find particles of rare metals, titanium, cerium, strontium. This suggested Cooper may have worked in a specific industrial field, perhaps a chemical plant or a metal fabrication facility. But it was a clue decades too late. It led to more theories, not answers. The FBI built a profile. They believed he was experienced, likely a paratrooper, someone familiar with the 727's unique aft air stare. They released a composite sketch, the face of a phantom. It was sent to police departments across the country. Thousands of tips poured in. The FBI investigated over 1,000 suspects in the first 5 years alone. Each one was a dead end. One of the most overlooked parts of the story is the parachutes themselves. Cooper demanded 4. The FBI provided them. 2 were primary parachutes. 2 were reserve chutes. The authorities on the ground made a calculated choice. They gave him 1 military-issue parachute and 1 older, less reliable training parachute. It was a dummy chute, sewn shut for classroom demonstrations. It could not be opened. Cooper took one of the primary chutes, but he also took the dummy reserve chute. Did he not know the difference? An expert would have. This detail casts doubt on the theory of an experienced paratrooper. Was he an amateur who got lucky? Or was it a clever double bluff? The questions piled up. The trail went cold. For 9 years there was silence. The case became a modern folktale, a symbol of anti-establishment rebellion. Then, in February 1980, a discovery. A young boy named Brian Ingram was on a family vacation. He was digging in the sand on the bank of the Columbia River. At a place called Tanabar, he uncovered 3 rotting bundles of cash. He called his father. The bills were decomposed, but the serial numbers were visible. The FBI was contacted. They confirmed the impossible. It was Cooper's money, a total of $5,800. The discovery electrified the investigation, but it created more questions than answers. Tanabar was miles from the projected jump zone. How did the money get there? Scientists studied the bundles. They analyzed the sediment. They studied the river currents. One theory suggested the money had washed down from a tributary near the jump zone. Another argued the money had not been in the water long. It might have been buried there long after the jump. Did Cooper lose part of the money during his descent? Did he land near the river, bury some of it, and escape with the rest? Or does the money prove he never survived the jump at all? That his body and the rest of the cash lie undiscovered somewhere in the wilderness? The clue that should have solved the case only deepened the enigma. The decades passed. New technologies emerged. In the 2000s, the FBI attempted to develop a DNA profile from the tie. The results were inconclusive, contaminated by too many sources over the years. In 2016, the FBI officially closed the active investigation. They concluded that the resources were better spent on other cases. The ghost was finally left to rest. But the mystery remains. It endures because of its perfect emptiness. There is no final chapter, no resolution, just a man in a suit, a polite request, and a leap into the void. He is a puzzle with missing pieces, a question mark hanging in the American sky. Did he fall to his death in the unforgiving forest, a victim of his own daring plan? Or did he pull it off? Did he land safely, bury what he couldn't carry and walk away? Did he live out his life in quiet anonymity? A neighbor, a coworker, a stranger on the street. We will likely never know. The forest keeps its secrets. The river keeps its secrets. And the sky says nothing. The only thing certain is that on a stormy night in 1971, a man found a crack in the system and simply vanished.